Let's bring in a man who knows Larry Kudlow very well, David Stockman, former Reagan budget director and the author of Trumped, joining us now on the phone. David, you were his boss about 30 years ago. Why did you hire Larry Kudlow to begin with?
Well, I met him on Wall Street. He was the chief economist at Bear Stearns. He was a brilliant speaker, presenter on the fundamentals of low taxes, sound money, balanced budgets, and small governments. That's why he came into the Reagan administration.
All right. That's why you hired him.
That's why I hired him. Over the next 3 years, he gave some pretty solid advice. But unfortunately, we all went our separate ways, and he spent 30 years on Wall Street and got totally confused.
Well, he made a lot. Hey, look, he made a lot of money. He got in some trouble. He made a lot of money, though, at the same time. But Let me just summarize, if I can. You tell me if I'm right or wrong. The summary is that basically you were more concerned with budget balancing, and he thought that that was a secondary concern because once you got the tax cuts, there'd be enough revenue coming in so you wouldn't have to worry about the budget. Is that about right?
No, that's revisionism.
Okay, go ahead. Hey, look, I'm here to have you clarify it all. Go ahead, David.
All right. I mean, I was really there. We were both solid spending cutters and realized that the tax cuts were a great thing, but they had to be coupled with a real attack on spending. It didn't happen.
No, it didn't happen.
Okay, it didn't happen. And so as a result of that, we got giant deficits. And fortunately, Greenspan bailed out Ronald Reagan when he went into the money printing business in the late 1980s.
Well, now, wait a minute. David, let me just throw in my revisionist thinking here. I think that the tax cuts had a lot to do with the boom economy that we had in the 80s. You're saying it had nothing to do with it?
I'm saying it had a little to do with it, but it had a lot. Well, yes, because, hey, come on, remember, we had roaring inflation when we went in. And I
remember well.
Well, but wait a minute. You have to allow some facts to come out to your viewers, okay? Yeah. And the facts are we had double-digit inflation.
David, come on.
No.
We had tremendous inflation. Absolutely. I'm not disagreeing with you one bit. And we had this squeezing off of the inflation by Paul Volcker, and then we had Greenspan come in, and he had a very generous monetary policy. You and I both have agreed that it was too generous, but the tax cuts clearly stimulated growth in the economy, no?
Well, let me finish my thought. My thought was because of that roaring inflation, Volcker had to drive the prime rate to 20.5% by the fall of 1981. It sent the economy into the dumpers, the worst recession we had since World War II.
Agreed.
And then finally, when he broke the back of inflation, he took his foot off the brake. The prime rate got all the way down to 7% by 85, 86. And that was a natural stimulant that helped the economy rebound from a bad deep
David,
recession.
you know how TV is. We got to wrap. We don't have much time, but just a final word. You'd think it's just a little bit of the growth had to do with tax cuts in the 1980s, not the majority of it.
I agree with that. And the growth
I'm asking you. You think it's true?
And the growth of the 1980s was about average for the last 3 decades.
All right. All right. David Stockman, always a pleasure, even though we disagree profoundly. It's a great pleasure to have you on. I really appreciate it.